A Hulk Hogan fan removed from the hard cam shot, 5 more wrestlers enter themselves into the Royal Rumble match, and Goldberg is now just another guy on the roster. It was the best Raw of 2017. By default, it was also the worst Raw of 2017. It's a new year, yes it is. I'm Oli Davis and this is the 2nd of January 2017 edition of Monday Night Raw in about 4 minutes. Mick Foley opened Raw sporting a trendy new haircut. It made him look at least 2 Hell in a Cell matches younger. This was the standard Raw opening with some combination of Foley, Stephanie, Owens and Jericho. After the latter complained about being a sexy piñata, the night's best joke besides Titus O'Neil, Foley made the Kevin Owens talk show as the main event with Goldberg as the guest. Stephanie then got angry about SmackDown beating Raw in the TV ratings last week and did her best to make that happen again by booking the 87th match between Jericho and Reigns for the US Championship. Before that, we had Owens versus Rollins, where the winner would be banned from ringside for the aforementioned championship match. KO lost via DQ when he used the ring bell on Rollins, making Owens look weak yet again. If Raw is going to recycle the same matches between their top 4 guys over and over, why is it impossible for the heels to get a clean win every now and again? Speaking of recycling matches, Reigns beat Jericho later on despite Chris's great attempt at an Eddie Guerrero pretend DQ spot, a moment which presumably made Sasha Banks burst into tears of admiration backstage. Here's the other stuff that happened. Carl Anderson won a singles match, his first since signing with WWE last year. Who cares if it was because of a distraction from Luke Gallows? This is Anderson's year. He's winning the Rumble. He's main eventing WrestleMania. He's celebrating with his hot Asian wife. Braun Strowman definitively beat Sami Zayn in a last man standing match where he barely left his feet. Zayn was a great underdog as always, and the storytelling is okay, I guess, but I'm not as into this feud as everyone else seems to be. For me, it hasn't recovered from the inconsistent Mick Foley saves a few weeks back. Note to self, email Vince about putting Ty Dillinger in a last man standing match. Additional note to self, tell Vince who Ty Dillinger is. A fan dressed as Hulk Hogan, affectionately known as the tie-dyed guy in the Tampa area, had been sat at ringside right in the hard cam shot for the whole show up until this point, but he was suddenly removed to the other side of the ring where he wouldn't be on TV. This led the crowd to chant Hogan, which shows how interesting the actual New Day segment was. After all 3 members enter themselves into the Rumble match, Xavier Woods beat Titus O'Neil. Drew Gulak beat Cedric Alexander after Tony Nese and Alicia Fox distracted the babyface on the outside. As Austin Aries kept reiterating on commentary, if you know anything about wrestling, don't bring your girlfriend to ringside. The crowd were pretty dead for the Brian Kendrick tapping to TJ Perkins, probably because we've seen this match way too many times in the last few months. When you can hear individual people clapping, that means most of the crowd have lost interest. Big Cass had to take on both Rusev and Jinder Mahal by himself with Enzo Amore out of action. Even the USA chants couldn't stop Cass from losing the numbers game. Bayley beat Nia Jax to become the #1 contender for Charlotte's Women's Championship at Royal Rumble after Sasha Banks distracted the heel. A neat way to advance all the feuds involved. The first ever Kevin Owens show segment got the main event spot this week. Instead of a Geratron 48,000 or whatever the most up-to-date model is, they had a guy with a Kevin Owens show sign on his head. Chris Jericho announced he'll be in the Royal Rumble, which Owens wasn't happy about. What happens if Y2J wins? Owens doesn't want to have to wrestle his best friend at WrestleMania. They're going to have a great feud with Jericho as the face eventually. Then out came Goldberg, who immediately threw his chair out of the ring. That was badass, and his brief confrontation with Owens was intense. But then out came Roman Reigns, and then out came Braun Strowman. And with each one, Goldberg somehow felt less and less important. And just like that, Goldberg became just another guy on Raw. This was the deadest the crowd has been for him since his return. Goldberg and Reigns gave Strowman a joint spear to send him out of the ring, because you've got to give the Golden Boy a rub, but really the opposite happened. Goldberg, the superhero, the man who beat Brock Lesnar in 1 minute 26 seconds, was brought down to a full-time roster stars level. So that was this week's Raw in about 4 minutes. Here's the usual ratings recap from top to bottom in awe, core, average, poor, and bore. This week's Raw is poor. Titus O'Neil versus Xavier Woods, TJ Perkins versus Brian Kendrick, Cedric Alexander versus Drew Gulak, Rusev and Jinder Mahal versus Big Cass. That's a lot of filler. And the main event stuff was just another reworking of the stale Owens, Rollins, Jericho, Reigns combinations we've seen quite enough of already. The Kevin Owens show main event had promise, but that too just became another unoriginal copy and paste segment where wrestler after wrestler comes out one after another. And most destructively, it made Goldberg feel like just another guy. At least we've got Undertaker and Shawn Michaels returning to Raw next week, because Undertaker doesn't want WrestleMania to define him. He wants ignoring the brand split rules to define him. But what did you all think? Let me know in the comments down below, and a poll should be appearing above my head for you to give it your own rating. I'll announce the results in tomorrow's WrestleTalk news. If you want to find out more about Goldberg's WWE deal, or the last time New Day had a joke cut on Raw, click the videos to the left and subscribe. I've been Oli Davis, and that was wrestling.